Welcome to, finally, another too long didn't read Dota news. Sorry that this series has been absent for a while, but it's back and I'm here to catch you up as quickly as possible on all of the recent news that's been happening in the Dota scene. So first up, we're going to go through a bunch of different tournament results. There have been several since our last episode. And then, of course, all of the upcoming tournaments, their status on teams attending, qualifiers, invites, and everything, as well as all the rosters and organizational changes in our last shuffle add drop period, and then some updates to the game in the latest patches released by Valve. Links to important games, sources, and timestamps for all these different topics in the video are provided in the video description if you want to skip through anything. The Kiev Major had 16 teams split into 2 groups of 8 that played in a Swiss format group stage to determine the final seeding. Then all these teams moved into a single elimination bracket with best of 3 games for everything. Now the top number 1 seed, Team Secret, were surprisingly taken out in round 1 by Brazilian squad SG Esports, winners of the newly introduced SA specific regional qualifier spot. Now, I think the universal consensus on this tournament is that the series to watch is EG versus SG Esports, this being one of the greatest Dota series probably since TI3 Navi versus Alliance era games. So if you missed Kiev and want to go back and watch one series, this would be the one to go back and catch. Our final 4 for this tournament, and most likely guaranteed invites for TI, are Invictus Gaming, Virtus Pro, OG, and Evil Geniuses. Now after the top 4 played, we were left with our 2 grand finalists in Virtus Pro versus OG. Now this finals did go to a full 5 games, which is only the second time this has happened in Valve event history, and I believe since TI3 Navi versus Alliance was our only other 5-game series. And it resulted in OG as your 4th time Major champion. So they racked up 2 Eagle Songs, a Reaver, and the Kiev Major finished out their collection with a Mystic Staff as they work on acquiring the Aegis to kind of finish everything out. This brings their career earnings to over $5 million and is very impressive. They are the only 4-time Valve champion in existence. And so for some of their stats from Kiev, they went 7-1 for all of their series, only dropping 1 series in that group stage. They picked 49 total heroes, and in comparison, VP picked 68, and their average match time was a little over 42 minutes. As for some general interest information about Kiev overall, a total of 99 heroes were picked. There were 0 broadcasting gaps due to a series called Mischief at the Major, featuring Sir Action Slacks doing a bunch of wacky things, filling in all the time in between games and panel segments. The Starladder and I-League Invitational took place in Shanghai, China, just recently, in the middle of May. With 8 teams there, 6 of them were invited, and 2 were qualifiers. The Alliance invite was to replace Mouse Sports, who had to pull out due to other event commitments. At Starladder, the 8 teams were split into 2 groups of 4, where they played best of 3s, double elimination, or the GSL style, with the top 2 teams from each group moving on into the playoff bracket. Both Team Liquid and TNC went undefeated in their group stage. The playoff bracket was single elimination and saw both Team Liquid and TNC advance into the finals with TNC still not dropping a single game. They relied pretty heavily on Jakiro picks, with the new captain, 1437, bringing a very different drafting style to the team. Team Liquid and TNC took the series to the full 5 games, something that's been apparently a feature of our recent patches, as grand finals are highly contested, with Team Liquid winning in the end, taking the series 3-2. Liquid took home $45,000, with TNC winning $20,000. 3rd/4th places for IG and Newbie, earning them each $10,000. Our next tournament that has concluded is the Manila Masters. 8 teams also attended this tournament, with 5 direct invites and then 3 teams qualifying. There were no group stages for the Manila Masters event. Teams were randomly seeded into a double elimination bracket where all the games are best of 3s except for the grand finals, of course. And the teams that made it to the top 4 are Newbie, EG, Faceless, and Team NP. Now, NP took out Faceless and then fell to EG, coming in 3rd place, with Faceless taking 4th place. And then we saw Newbie versus EG in the grand finals. Now, we did not have a 5-game series here, as EG did manage to take the finals 3-1. Evil Geniuses took home $125,000, and then Newbie the second place and the $50,000. Those are all the tournaments that have already happened. We have already started one more tournament, and then we still have a bunch waiting for us in the next few weeks and throughout the summer. The Zotac Cup has already begun. There are 8 teams with NP and Newbie as direct invites, and then 6 qualifier teams. So if you are in need of Dota to watch, these games are currently being played out. Epicenter will be the next tournament following Zotac Cup, featuring a very large $500,000 prize pool, and then 5 direct invited teams. There were 4 teams that qualified, and then a little bit of a controversy-filled public vote that ended between all of the second place teams from the qualifiers that ended in Navi being invited to the Moscow event for Epicenter. Now after Epicenter, we have, of course, the Summit with 3 invited teams. And then there are 4 teams that played through a normal qualifier, and then there's something called the Loot Bet Invitational. Now in the past, the Summit has done compendium-driven fan voting for the last team to earn their slot. However, due to the lack of third-party compendiums available now, the Summit took a different approach, playing another qualifier tournament to choose the last winner, with Team Empire taking the last spot to qualify for the Summit. Very recently, another tournament was announced, Galaxy Battles, which will take place in China, and it will go on these exact same dates as the Summit. Right now, we know 4 direct invites, and then the Chinese qualifier and the Southeast Asian qualifier, and we're still waiting to see who qualifies from Europe and North America. A little further down the line, we have the Dream League Season 7 LAN Finals, where currently we have the NA teams playing for their 1 spot, and the 3 European teams have already been decided. Now, unfortunately, Dream League has gotten the short end of the stick a few times, as teams have been pulling out of the league. Team NP pulled out for the 2nd season in a row, earning them a 1-year ban from Dream League events. Digital Chaos have also had to pull out due to an invite to another tournament that we have not had announced yet. Team Freedom and SG Esports are replacing DC and Team NP in Dream League, and those games should be finished up fairly shortly, and we'll know the cast for the Dream League LAN that will take place in Atlanta very shortly before TI. So that's it for your upcoming tournaments. You can see up here on the screen, there really is no shortage of Dota over the next several weeks, and then we will have TI qualifiers with opens, I believe, starting on June 22nd, coming shortly after the Summit and Galaxy Battles. There have been several roster changes, as you might have picked up on from some of the tournament news that I was just talking about, but let's go through them quickly, and we'll talk about some of the notable changes. And unlike last year, we don't have some kind of EG Team Secret crazy drama. The roster swap period was mostly settled, except for China. Jack Chen, KBBQ Dota, you've seen him on some analyst panels, and was previously mostly used as an English to Chinese translator and has stepped into that analyst role as an expert on sort of the inner workings of the Chinese scene. He announced that Team Wings, who had left the Wings Orb and competed in Kiev as Team Random, are disbanding and would no longer be playing, and he couldn't really elaborate on a reason. It did come out a little bit later that the players had actually been banned by Ace for breaching contract by leaving the Wings organization. Now, despite this suspected or most likely ban, Faith Beyond and Y both joined eHome, who then were also reported to be banned by Ace, and then Shadow has joined a new squad as well. Previously, eHome were banned temporarily by Ace, and it prevented them from even scrimming other Chinese teams. So we'll have to wait and see if these bans are actually effective and how they'll affect these banned teams from playing within China, as Ace does control a majority of the events there. After Team NP kicked SPG in 1437, they moved a little more towards the Cloud9 side in picking up Pylai Dai and Fada, Envy's previous teammates, rounding out their roster as they move into the TI7 season. Of course, Pylai Dai must have left Team Secret for this to happen, so Team Secret has picked up Yapzor, an old teammate of Kazu, to finish out their squad. Cloud9's roster has disbanded, and most of the team is now who we know as Danish Bears, which is, I believe, what they were also previously known as, except 747 is replacing Baby Knight on this team. Alliance has parted ways with EGM, and we also see where Baby Knight went here, as Syndrin announces his new team, Crescendo, with EGM, Baby Knight, Syndrin, Ake, and Excalibur. We'll have to see how Crescendo does in the European qualifiers heading into this TI7 season. After being kicked from NP, 1437 went to Southeast Asia to join TNC. He flew directly to China to play with them in Starladder without ever having played with them before, and they took an impressive second place finish. The exodus to Southeast Asia is not only happening here with 1437, as Mag, a previous Vega player, has joined Team Mineski. In addition to all these roster changes, we've also had several gameplay changes. There was a huge performance update that should be especially noticeable on lower end PCs, helping with just your FPS and general game performance. Some of the bigger changes are that when you deny creeps, you now gain XP. The gold bounty on towers is decreased as well, probably to help address a snowballing effect from taking early towers. Shrines are only available after 5 minutes now, making your offlane a little more challenging. And side note, Crystal Maiden is approaching the speed of a ward as she got yet another move speed change, going from, I think, 280 down to 275. That's it for this episode of Too Long Didn't Read Dota News. Thanks for watching. As always, please share with people who need a little extra help in following the Dota scene. Let me know in the comments if there's anything different you'd like to see with this episode, and I look forward to giving you guys the news the next time, and hopefully it won't take as long this time. Thanks.